Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the UFO disclosure. Now, in this video, this is the video that I had planned to do today. However, last night I went on a wild rabbit hole. Went down a wild rabbit hole. And I found out that in the 1980s in the United Kingdom, there were around 25 high-level scientists, researchers involved in the United States SDI project, Space Defense Initiative. Now, they all went missing, died in very mysterious circumstances. So I did do a live stream earlier on, and I kind of stole a lot of my own thunder from this live stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sharing with you guys a few videos that have come out over the last 24 hours that I think are particularly relevant in this sphere. Now, whether you believe in all this stuff or not, right? Look, guys, I genuinely don't know. I'm not coming out here and saying that, yeah, aliens are real, they're on their way. I'm 100% convinced, because I'm not. What I'm saying is the United States have taken this so seriously. They now have a website called aliens.gov, and they are going to release, well, allegedly, they're going to release all the information on UFOs, UAPs, and extraterrestrial life on that website. So the first video I'm going to share with you guys is something I've been saying for a while about these plasmoids, and I'm going to kind of debunk some stuff here. So let me just try and debunk a lot of these plasmoids, because I'm not convinced that all these radar blips and all these drones and all these orbs, I'm not convinced, and I never was, that they were, aliens. I've always said I think they're plasmoids.
In 2004, you have, Nimitz off the coast of San Diego. You have Soul Carrier Strike Group. You have radar. You have, eyewitness observation. And then you have thermal imaging that's been released, this forward-looking infrared.
And CCTV also.
And CCTV. Mm-hmm. And so would this sort of plasma ball configuration be able to account for all of that?
So listen to what he's saying here. I only watched this last night. So if you guys have been watching me, following me for a while, what I've said is plasma and plasmoids, they can be inducted. They can be produced by using a microwave. He says laser here, but I think a microwave would be a better option, but whatever. So he's saying, well, let's just listen to the video.
Yes, it would.
Sorry.
Also.
And CCTV. And so would this sort of plasma ball configuration be able to account for all of that?
Yes, it would, from a kinematic point of view. But the visuals don't line up. Those are tic tacs.
Mm-hmm.
And the plasmas actually can look like a tic tac, because they're not actual balls normally the way you do them, unless you really are good with adaptive optics. But generally what happens with these plasmas, it's a laser beam coming to a focus.
What have I said? Literally, what have I been telling you guys about these plasmoids? Sorry, about these orbs, right? Literally, I do the exact same thing, right? I say if you get, lasers or microwaves, they can create the illusion of an orb. Now, I'm literally going to leave this video here because I've got quite a few videos to get through. What I'm saying is I believe this is debunking like almost all of these orbs and these blips that people see on radar, right? So I'm going to write those all off now. I'm going to write all these radar blips and these things moving quick. I'm just going to write them off as plasma, because that is what I think it is. And remember, these plasmoids are being seen over US military test sites. So that's where you would test it, right? If you were going to do a big attack on a country, like I've said this many times, if you wanted to attack a country from the west, you send your navy to the east, submarines under the water, they fire the lasers up and they make it look like there's a ton of planes approaching. They give these plasmoids the laser signal, they make these plasmas return on radar and look like aircraft. So, for example, China think there's an attack coming from the east coast. Guess what? They scramble all their aircraft. They go out to the east coast. Nothing there. And the real attack comes from the west coast. That's what I think this is. And he's just confirming it there, right? I've been saying this for like a long time. Now, let me jump to this video because it starts to get a little bit dark.
This is not going away. And my real fear here is if we continue to ignore this topic, we're going to be in another really bad situation. Where we're going to have an event that is going to potentially eclipse the impact of 9/11 had.
Again, like, you know when I do these videos and I say things and then like a couple of days or weeks later, other people are repeating them. I do think something huge is coming and it's going to absolutely eclipse everything that's happening in the news. I don't know what that is, but the seeds that are being the setup, you know, imagine building a building, right? And you're laying your foundation. If you stick a few, I don't know, 4x4 posts in the ground and concrete them in, you're going to be able to build what? Maybe a 1-2-story building. It's not going to be very stable, but, you know, you'll be able to get that past depending on how many you have. What's happening right now, metaphorically, is people are pouring tons of concrete for this base. And whatever's coming, it is going to be huge.
On our society. Eclipse the impact of 9/11 had on our society. That day is coming if we are not careful. If we do not take this topic seriously, it's a matter of time before some state or non-state actor figures out a way to utilize technology against us, to weaponize it. And it doesn't have to be necessarily drones, right? And if there's an adversary out there that has managed to reverse engineer UAP technology.
Do you hear what he said there? Now, so he's implying there. Hang on. He's implying. He says, if an adversary has managed to reverse engineer UAP technology. Hang on.
Necessarily drones, right? And if there's an adversary out there that has managed to reverse engineer UAP technology.
Okay, so what he's saying there is kind of, to me, implying that someone knows what these things are, right? Because if you've got something, right, it's no longer unknown, right? It's no longer anomalous. You know, if you have one and you can, you know, reverse engineer it, you know, it's, you know what it is. So it kind of didn't make sense. And I'm just questioning what that actually means.
You imagine that scenario, right? Imagine some rogue nation like, I don't know, North Korea, having the ability to exploit and reverse engineer just even some of the capabilities that we see now associated with UAP.
So what the next video I'm going to share with you guys, it's a little bit of a, the next video I'm going to share with you guys, it's so wild and crazy. I don't know where I am with this. I really don't. The next video I'm going to share with, sorry, let me put the chat on. I didn't have the chat on. The next video I'm going to share with you guys is a video from one of the ladies, Amy Eskridge. I think her name's Amy Eskridge. And what she's talking about. Now, this whole scenario is crazy. It's entirely up to you what you guys think about it. However, if what she's saying is true, it gives more weight. And again, I'm not saying what she's saying is true at all. If what she's saying is true, it gives more weight to the form theory, you know, and the truth may be a lot darker than people consider. And she's throwing some bombs as well. She throws some bombs. So let's share this next video. So just for context again, this is a lady called Amy Eskridge. Now she's one of the now 13 scientists that's been investigated in the United States for mysteriously dying.
Tesla had it, Eugene had it, Ken Wheeler, of course, katana wielding, time traveling Dan Cooper. And the fifth one is my dad, to independently discover anti-gravity.
Yeah, she just drops that. Like, why is this not the why is this not the thing that everybody's leading with, right? So this girl who we're looking at, Amy Eskridge, is one of the people who are being investigated for mysteriously dying, and her dad, what she's claiming, her dad independently discovered anti-gravity. The odds of this now, guys, and then if you add that with the 25 British scientists that have also died, if you add all this together, the odds of this being like coincidence, you know, you've probably got more, well, you have got more chance of winning the lottery, being struck by lightning, and then being hit with a tsunami in the middle of Texas. Pretty much your odds of that are pretty good in consideration to this.
It's been independently discovered 4 other times. It has been suppressed every single fucking time. And he said, I don't think they're going to suppress it this time. He said, I think you're in the clear. They obviously know about you. He was like, if you haven't had a US government agent come to you and say, stop, shut the fuck up. If that hasn't happened, they're going to let you do it. My degree, I have a double degree in biology and chemistry. I did quantum chemistry and organic chemistry and inorganic. I almost finished a PhD in biotechnology. I was doing recombinant protein engineering.
Just for context, guys, I have no idea what any of that stuff means, but it sounds impressive.
He told me that the US government would give me a shit ton of money to keep me from selling it to China. And so I called him and I'm like, can you refer me to an active US Army general, please, to talk about this transaction? And that killed the conversation. Radio silence. They fuck with me. I'm tired of it. Hal is actually extremely evil.
So this guy, Hal Put-Off, he's, he does the podcast shows. Everybody, he's always going around and talking, and talking to people. I watched an interview with the guy who I've just shared, Jesse Michaels, Eric Weinstein, and Hal Put-Off. And this is why I started to really listen to Eric Weinstein, because straight away he called Hal Put-Off out and he said, yeah, you're BS. You're talking BS. Straight away, you're talking BS. Now, I'm not going to go into that, but in short, what he was saying is, if Hal Put-Off, he's worked at all, he claims to have worked at all these, all these secret projects and all these, these deep state projects. And what he was saying is, he was talking about this, what's it called? That, the astral projection thing, right? He was talking about astral projection, and Eric Weinstein says, well, so you can see into the future. And he's like, yeah, we've had very positive results. He said, well, why didn't you just choose the lottery numbers, or like, or what, or what horse is going to win what race, or who's going to win the Super Bowl, and bet on it. He said, oh, we never really went down that. We was always too busy. And straight away, Eric Weinstein calls BS, right? He says, look, if people can, they will always make money. And you know what, guys? He's absolutely right. So always follow the money. So the next question is, why is this guy, Hal Put-Off? And I've watched quite a few podcasts with him. He seems a nice guy. However, this girl, Amy, she's saying that he's actually extremely evil. Obviously, I've never met him or her, but she's saying he's extremely evil.
He's very quiet. He listens more than he talks. Quiet and sweet and gentle, like a nice old grandpa, but he's evil as fuck. There's multiple parties looking at each other like, is Amy not going to publish soon? Didn't we tell this bitch 3 years ago that we kill people for this? Is she not listening? So I have these 2 different scenarios floating constantly in my life.
Okay, now, I don't want to, I'm just trying to, I approach all this stuff and I try and look at it as level-headed as I can, right? If you're sat there, right, with a prototype and it works, why are you not making money off it? So I really struggle with all these things where people claim to have, got built a perpetual motion machine, which you can't do, by the way. In the sense that it's not possible. So all these people who say they built this, but the prototype was destroyed, I'm like, why don't you build another one? You know how to build it, right? So I really do struggle with all this.
Where I have people being like, do it, you're the one. And then I have multiple people being like, they're gonna kill you. Because you're a young woman, they're gonna rape you before they kill you too. I have people breaking into my apartment, digging through my panty drawer so that I notice. Let me tell you, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. We're the Rocket City. We're the biggest deal you've never heard of. Von Braun was here and we won the space race. We developed the Saturn V.
Why did they call it Saturn? Why did they call it Saturn, guys? I'm starting to, I do start to connect a lot of these like little dots that people just say. Like, for me, when I've done interrogation in the military, right? It's called tactical questioning, right? And when people are lying, you don't attack the lie, you attack the surrounding information, right? So they slip up with something small. For example, I was. I'm not going to give you that example. If you want to know if somebody's been deceptive about something, right? And they're giving you this story, right? They give you this story. Ask them about the surroundings. What time of day was it? What was the weather like? What were the carpets? What was the wallpaper? What did the chairs look like? Because if that's a real event, they'll be able to tell you, right? And then ask them the same question in a couple of days, but frame it differently, right? And you can, so the lie, the lie is solid. They've rehearsed, but it's the surrounding things that they've not rehearsed. How many chairs were at the table? What were people drinking? What were people eating? Were there any food? Because if they get that wrong the second time, then they're clearly being deceptive. Obviously, it's not foolproof. People forget things and people remember things differently sometimes. That's just one little tactic. So for me, when I'm listening to these things, I always, it's the little words that I pick up on. And, and it's only when she said it then, the Saturn V rockets. Why did they call the rockets that went to the moon Saturn? If you guys understand Saturn, Shaitan, the black cube on Saturn.
Here. We won the space race here in Alabama, whether you've heard of it or not. I can tell you for a fact, so many prototypes. Only prototype built like this in the world. You turn it on the first time, it works exactly like you thought it would. You apply for more funding to test it, they cancel it.
Okay, right. This is what I struggle with, right? Imagine you've built a prototype, right? Let's just say you've built an anti-gravity prototype, right? And you can now have free unlimited air travel. Why don't you start your own airline? Amy's Travels. I'm going to build a prototype. I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to get, because these prototypes are a lot cheaper to build if you do it yourself. I'm going to build this prototype. I've done it before. I know how to do it. Here's my stuff. That's it. There you go. Done. I'm just going to fly people around. I struggle with this because, they have, I understand, she's now dead, so she can't.
And melt it down for scrap metal and sell it. We could be on the moons of Jupiter if we had spent money differently.
I do feel that, guys, honestly. I do feel that humanity's been really held back. I think that I would say all the wars in the world are caused because humans, we are naturally an expanding species, right? We've got eyes in the front of our heads. We are apex predators, pioneers, engineers. We're supposed to be pushing boundaries forwards, but we're stuck on this planet We've got nowhere else to go.
I can tell you the names of so many NASA scientists that are depressed and they want to kill themselves. Basically, there's a calamity. There's like a apocalypse scenario in the near future.
Right, this is where it gets dark. Let me go back, guys. Sorry. I should have this in the subject, apocalypse scenario or something.
And they want to kill themselves.
Sorry, yeah.
Basically, there's a calamity. There's like a apocalypse scenario in the near future. It wipes out most of like everything. And there's the ones that go underground and survive. And then there's the ones that somehow stay on the surface and miraculously don't die. Extraterrestrial, extra implies that they're from somewhere else. Ultra-terrestrial, they're us from the future. They're from here, from the future. Have you heard of the P-52s and the P-47s? P-47 is present plus 47,000 years. P-52 is present plus 52,000 years. I can't even describe it. It's crazy.
So she was one of the ladies who's being investigated at the moment for one of the 13 scientists in America who are being investigated that have, top, high level scientists, nuclear, aerospace, defense. She was one of them. Now, can you imagine 13 more people like her? There's some bonkers stuff happening, guys. There absolutely is. Let's ground this in some reality. Let me share another video. In fact, let me get on the chat. Actually, let me jump onto the chat. What does this button do? Says killed for confidence by the sounds of things. Commies hate it. Slim is saying extra. Read all about it. Sean, she's full of it. I'm calling BS on her story. Yeah, it's for me, people want to make money, right? So can you imagine? Look, guys, and all I'm doing is being objective, right? So I'm not going to say she's full of it. I'm just going to say I'm struggling with some parts of her story. Now, if you can build one of these prototypes, right, that's got fantastical abilities, and the government say, right, we're going to stop your funding. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go to China, right? You're going to go to China, you're going to go to Russia, you're going to go somewhere else. So all right, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you're a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. You're going to build that yourself. You are literally going to build that yourself and just start selling it. So I struggle it. David is saying, I would love to sit down and have a conversation with any of one of those missing or dead scientists. Yeah, I think I would as well. So KK Louise is saying, are the scientists dead or are they kidnapped? Good question. Some of them are missing. Some of them are confirmed dead, but we don't, but obviously we don't know what or who is what. I'm pretty convinced the ones, the 25 that went missing from the United Kingdom, that died in the United Kingdom, I'm pretty sure they're dead. However, who knows? Absolutely who knows? Right, I've got some more videos, guys. I've got some more videos to share with you guys. Is it this one? Not this one. Right, so let's ground this into a little bit more reality now. Let's do a little bit of ground this into reality. This one, yeah.
Congressman, I want to get your take on another.
So, going back to what I said right at the beginning of this video, this topic's not fringe anymore. This is, sitting congressman, Eric Burleson, sitting congressman, now having open, serious conversations about this. And serious, serious questions now. So whether you believe there's little green men, I'm not convinced. I'll be honest with you, I'm not convinced. Whether you believe there's little green men running around with little ray guns and probing people for whatever reasons, On a national scale in America, they're taking this real seriously. Scientists are going missing, and this dates back to the Space Defense Initiative in the 1980s. That's where I've traced it back to.
Congressman, I want to get your take on another real hot story right now. The number of missing or dead scientists with ties to nuclear and space research continues to climb, now hitting 13.
So if you guys can see, she's at the bottom. The girl who we just saw on the video, she's there, bottom left. Amy Eskridge.
We're also learning that the 2024 death of former Air Force intelligence officer and would-be UFO whistleblower Matthew Sullivan could be tied to this growing mystery.
So I shared this the other day. You know, I shared this like a couple of days ago.
Congressman, what can you tell us about Matthew Sullivan?
Yeah, I first learned of Matthew Sullivan from David Grush. Whenever he began working with our committee, he had asked me to reach out or to write a letter to the FBI and requesting an investigation into his suspicious death. And so we've been working on that. Whenever I spoke with the FBI in the last few months, I asked them directly, is there any investigation that you've begun in that? They seem to indicate that they would not tell me at this time. And so, but they would not confirm nor deny that there was an ongoing investigation. But since then, you've had the missing General William Neal McCaslin.
Sorry, I've only just noticed, if you guys look at the subject at the bottom, death of would-be UFO whistleblower now under scrutiny. They keep linking this back to UFOs now. The narrative's changing, right? The narrative is being pushed in a certain direction.
And who went missing, and all of these other scientists that have been somewhat associated, and that's caused a lot of attention to this topic. And now I'm thankful that now we are having that discussion about Matthew Sullivan, because it's something that my office was trying to get some answers from the FBI over almost a year ago.
So the number in the United States is now of, the missing scientists that I think they're officially reporting now is 13. Obviously, the unofficial number is a lot higher. And when I started looking at it, when I first reported on this, it was 9, right? It was 9 scientists. I said, listen, guys, there's definitely something going. Then then it was 11. Now it's 13. Then there's the ones in China. If you guys have seen my live stream earlier on, I talked about the 25 British scientists who killed and missing. It feels like there's a narrative, and people and there's a little bit of information gets released, and then everybody starts talking about it, and then people start putting two together, and they go, and then if they come off if they start going down the wrong path, a little bit more information gets released over here and there. Oh, everybody's going down that. And it feels like we're being sent. It does, guys. It feels like we're being sent down this path. I'm convinced that these were, that these places were. I'm convinced that this is to do with, and somebody will come up with this very soon. They will. I'm convinced, and I talked about this on the live stream earlier, whereby all this phenomena, everything that we're hearing right now, it's all to do with planetary defense. Sherry is saying there's pulled documents on human biofields from the 1940s. I don't even know what that means. What's a human biofield? You're gonna have to give me more information. Slim is saying, I wouldn't put money on it that they have. I would put money on it that they have 0 alien technology or lives. 0. That may be the case. I'm certainly not ruling that out. But Slim, can you tell me then why and I'm not, I'm not like challenging everyone. I'm genuinely interested in like a diverse array of opinions. Slim, can you tell me why this sudden uptick in release of this information? The United States having, Donald Trump saying he's going to release the information on UFOs, UAPs, and go on, extraterrestrial life, because that's real, and I will never, I don't know what the answer is. I guess I will never know. And for me as well, it's a question that another question I don't know the answer to. What would I accept as, evidence? For example, we're talking about evidence. What would you guys accept as evidence? I'm going to share with you guys a video now. Again, I would say this is more than likely AI, but bear with me. So this video is allegedly taken over an, in fact, I think I've been there. I'm pretty sure I've been there. So this video is allegedly taken over an old, military base near Rendlesham. Now, you guys will know the significance of Rendlesham, right? So let's watch this video, and then I'll talk a little bit to you guys about Rendlesham. I mean, do you think it could be plasma? It could be plasma. It could be plasma. What do you think, guys? Is it just me, right? Is it just me, or does it look like going from... Is it just me, or does it look like going to the top? It looks like there's a... Can you guys see that? It looks like there's a stream going off it from the top left. Can you guys see that? Looks like there's a stream going off it from the top left, right? Can you guys see that? It looks like there's an so to me that looks like it could be a plasmoid. It could be a plasmoid. It could be all sorts of things. I don't think it's aliens. But it's clearly something, unless it's AI. But then why would you make something AI that you can't really tell what it is, right? Maybe I don't know. Maybe you would look at like if I was going to do a UF, like if I was going to get AI to make me a if I was going to do AI to make me an alien video, I would at least make it look like something. Because I have no idea what this is, like no idea. However, the location of this, I think, is I think the location of this is just as significant. Now, this is near an abandoned Rendlesham air base in the United Kingdom. Now, Rendlesham is very close to the Sizewell nuclear power plant. Now, if you guys know what I'm saying, would know what I'm talking about. Rendlesham Forest, that whole area, there was back in the Cold War, there was various projects, and part of the Strategic Defense Initiative, I think it was part of the Strategic Defense Initiative, there was Sizewell nuclear power plant was built, and the location of Sizewell nuclear power plant, it's right on the south. It's right at the southeast of England, and it makes no sense having it there. There's no industry. There's no real, there's no real large city or population to have that. You could argue it's for safety, and, that may be true. However, there is a very peculiar there is a very peculiar antenna array near that nuclear power plant. Now they say that is a over the horizon radar. However, some people also say that that's a non-nuclear EMP. So what they're saying is they use the whole nuclear power plant to generate an EMP. And if you look at it, it is pointing towards, where you would fire a non-nuclear EMP towards Europe in the case of the Russians came over. Now, if you then cross-reference that with Chernobyl, you guys are going to know exactly what I'm going to say. Chernobyl also, you guys have seen the big thing that they call a radar array outside Chernobyl. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. People go up there and they free fall off it and also base jump off it. So that also is the Russians' fabrication of, allegedly, of a non-nuclear EMP antenna. These things are built on a massive scale, and Chernobyl was powering that non-nuclear EMP. So these things are weapons, right? These things are weapons, and they could be, these plasmoids could be discharges for these. I don't really understand when you get that amount of energy. Now, this brings me on to, I'm not going to talk about the war. I was going to mention the war in Ukraine, the Ukrainians going into the Kursk region of Russia, and Kursk having another huge nuclear power plant. And I always think that there is something more relevant that they're going into Kursk for, because there isn't really any reason for them to do that. Anyway, but we're sticking with this at the moment, guys. Now, if you put all this together, what does it mean? I don't know. I have no idea what all this means, but I do know that something is, there's something definitely happening. As the guy said right at the beginning, we could be looking at something, a crisis that absolutely eclipses 9/11. And the lady, the lady who may be a little bit out there, but that doesn't mean she's not credible. In fact, let me see if I can get this back. Hang on. Right. And then this lady, she's saying that it feels like, on the beginning of, on the first Terminator movie, when they says there's a war from now in a few hundred years, nobody knows who caused it. It was the machine, Sarah. It feels like that. So let's just 10 seconds.
There's a calamity. There's like a apocalypse scenario in the near future. It wipes out most of everything. And there's the ones that go underground and survive. And then there's the ones that somehow stay on the surface and miraculously don't die.
So I don't know whether she's talking about Earth. I don't know whether she's talking about, I don't know whether she's talking about Earth. I don't know whether she's talking about Mars or another planet. I have no idea. However, what cannot be denied is that lady there who we just, saw is being investigated as suspicious because she allegedly decided to take her own transcend herself into a beam of light. These are real investigations going on right now by real agencies in the United States. The president himself of the United States has ordered the release of all this information, whether we get that or not, or whether we get some more grainy footage, I don't know. But whatever this phenomena is, I'm not saying that the aliens are real. I'm saying the phenomena of the release of the information is real, right? Right, I'm just going to jump to the bottom and get the last few comments. Tony is saying, we always in toilet. You won't let us leave. Okay, we got aliens in the toilet? I don't know what that means. She's talking about the Earth, and it's kind of the story on the Netflix show called The 100. And it's we're talking about Netflix shows, and that Netflix show it's a book, but it was done on Netflix. It was done on Netflix as well. The 3-body problem when the aliens are on their way to Earth and they start taking out leading scientists. And they start taking out leading scientists and researchers, so they can't build weapons to challenge the aliens when they get here. It's very difficult to say that that's not happening now, especially if you guys watch my previous live stream earlier on. Obviously, I've still got it up here. Mysterious scientists who worked on Reagan's Star Wars program. So there's this like clear connection here with anyone that has the ability to build, you know, high-end weapons, high-end energy release, because energy releases weapons essentially. Propulsion, although anti-gravity is not propulsion, it's like falling. And there you have it, guys. You know, this is a real investigation now, being given real airtime by real mainstream media. It's not fringe. It's not some guy on the internet with a tinfoil hat on saying, hey, guys, I've put this together. I've put this together. The end is now. The end is nigh. No, this is real people, you know, giving real investigations and trying to figure it out. Will we get to the bottom of it? Don't know. Will we be told the truth? Don't know. Is something big coming? Absolutely. I don't know what it is, but I can pretty much guarantee something huge is on its way. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. I'm going to close it down now. I've just seen some news flash up, right? I've just seen some news. Hang on. I've just seen some news flash up that Donald Trump and King Charles are related. So I might jump straight back on and do another live stream on that. But I'm just thinking, remember when I said that Britain's going to be America's going to take Britain? We may have a King Trump very soon. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, on that bombshell, I'll catch you guys later. Maybe very soon talking about Trump and King Charles.